Hi everyone, this is Balazs from RacingBrick. This is my first review of the Technic releases of summer 2025. Here is the 42210 Too Fast Too Furious Nissan Skyline GTR R34. We got an 18 plus set with the usual boring black box, only the logo of the movie and Nissan spices it up a bit. I wish we could get back the cool Technic boxes we used to have. The back shows a different angle of the car, some hints about the features and the photo of the real one. Let's open the box. The set has 1410 pieces, the price is 140 euros or dollars, and it will be available from the 1st of June everywhere, so there is no delay in the US like with the city sets. Pre-orders are also live on lego.com, you can find the links below in the description and in the pinned comment. We get 8 numbered bags in the box, 1 unnumbered one, 4 tires, the instructions and the sticker sheet, with no extra protection, not a good choice. Fortunately, the sticker sheet has survived. We will still have a lot to do with it. Surprisingly, this time the manual contains some extra information, first about the franchise, then about the car, and even more surprisingly, a description of the functions, which is very rare in Technic manuals these days. Here's the parts list in case you are looking for some novelties and their IDs, and now let's start building. The build begins with a differential, and then we quickly find a new part in the bag, a 4-module long black CV joint. We've had something similar in the past in the Ford GT, but that was 5 modules long. This will certainly be a fairly compact rear axle with suspension and differential. We build a kind of gearbox here, then more gears are added, and here comes the first sticker on this system assembly, which fits well here. The upper attachment point of the shock absorbers is built, end of phase 1. I added a lever to operate the driving ring. The reason for the oversized lever is this linkage, to which these pearl dark gray sockets attached with the balls in them. I think this is a new color for the balls, I don't think they existed in black before. This whole setup will be a key component of the drift mechanism. We've extended the chassis forward and built this clutch into the drivetrain. This axle is connected to the rear differential when the drift mode is activated. In the meantime, the lower axle gets this brick-built clutch with the frictionless pins, which is quite interesting because unlike the other clutch, this solution has almost no friction and stops working at the slightest resistance. But perhaps it doesn't need to transmit any force at all, as the axles are connected at the front. Here's a familiar part from the Supra, and that's the end of bag 2. We built the rear seats and part of the roll cage, and then added the floor, the nose buttons and the pretty good looking driver's seat. Phase 4 begins with the front differential. The short CVs show up again, and also the parts that were recently introduced in the big F1 set. This is another fairly dense solution for a steered, driven and suspended axle. Time to connect it to the main assembly. The 3x3 block is new in blue and it takes the crankshaft of the straight 6 engine that fits here. The pistons have been added, you can see how the engine runs, and here's another new part, the tiny cute 4-module long links connected to the steering rack. I've added them here, but some parts of the steering are still missing. That gear will come much later, but you can see how the steering will work. This axle here will be connected to the hand-of-God steering knob. And now let's take a look at the drivetrain while we can still see most of the components. I've mounted the wheels as they will be needed. When drift mode is not activated, the front and rear wheels are not connected. The front wheels drive the engine via the differential, but the rear wheels have no influence on the front wheels or the engine. Although there is that symbolic clutch connection I showed you earlier, but it has no practical effect. I could even turn the two axles against each other and nothing happens. This connection is not strong enough to transfer power between the front and rear axles. When I flip the switch and activate drift mode, the balls at the rear go down and the rear wheels are in the air. In this mode, the front wheels also drive the rear wheels, but via the gears here and here, so it is geared up at 2 places, which means that the rear wheels spin almost 3 times as fast as the front wheels. I've put indicators on the wheels so you can see the difference in speed better. If we look at the bottom, the difference in speed between the two axles is also clearly visible. You can feel the extra power needed to make the rear wheels turn faster in this mode. I can't wait to test it once the build is finished, so let's see what comes next. Here's the roof with the hand-of-God steering knob, but it's not connected to the wheels yet. The sticker fest is starting, it's going to be hard to get everything lined up properly, and yes, this is just the beginning. The fender part that was introduced in the Ford GT is new in light bluish grey. We get 2 printed versions and thankfully unprinted ones as well. Another useful recoloring, number 7 connectors in LBG. That's a pretty complex assembly and it only gets better, and of course it's all covered in stickers. We have brick-built rear lights and this recolored minifigure tea saucer is the perfect size next to the 2x2 inverted dish. We are not done mixing Technic and system parts yet, in fact it's getting pretty complex. I'm a big fan of these solutions. This will become the trunk lid and the rear wing. The body shaping continues with the mixed use of parts. The effort that has been made here is impressive. This is the rear of the car after back 6. The door is pretty simple, but has some nice part usage, and the recolored A-pillar from the McLaren P1 is used on a much smaller car this time. Added one extra gear to the steering wheel, too bad. I was really hoping with this attention to detail we will get a properly aligned steering system. There is no real practical problem here, but as the instructions show you how to align the steering wheel and the wheels, you can do it perfectly. When the steering wheel and this gear are aligned, then the one underneath is rotated. The next one is back in the right position. You see the position of the axle, but if you want the gears to be centered on the gear rack, then it should have the same position as this one, which is not possible. This is the same problem as with the F1 cars. You can play with the gear on the gear rack to improve it, but practically it doesn't really matter. It only harms the theory of the mechanism. The dashboard is another big system assembly with stickered gauges. Here comes the grille, which is a bit difficult to press in. With the parts from the last bag, we add more details to the front. The lights are also brick built and look quite complex. Here's the unprinted mudguard piece that got a sticker. It's better this way. I really like how these little details fit perfectly. The last major assembly is the hood, and after the dancing figures, this is the first appearance of this new beam in a Technic set. So here's the finished hood, the wheels go back again, and the last new parts are these cool looking wheel covers, which are mounted as well, and we are done. So here's the finished build, and I have to say it looks much better in the flash than in the photos, but that happens a lot with Technic sets. Yes, we have tons of stickers, but there were considerable efforts to brick build a lot of things, like the blue stripes on the front. The shaping and all the details look pretty good. A lot of attention has certainly been paid to the look. The side view also works. There are little details like the curvature of the door and how it fits with these parts, or that area above the rear wheel, where the designer has tried to fill in the gaps as much as possible. I like the angles and especially the lights at the rear, but the overhang of that panel is a bit distracting. The interior has some nice details and the obligatory nose buttons. Let's see the functions. Yes, the doors open as you can see. We have hand-of-God steering and the steering wheel works too. The knob on the top can be easily removed for display. The trunk lid can be opened and you can stow the knob here, for example. According to the manual, the rear wing is adjustable. Well, that's a generous reference to the fact that it's not fixed. The hood can also be opened to reveal the straight 6 engine, which runs while driving. Both axles have good suspension travel, perhaps a little more than the real car. And of course the main attraction, the drift function, which is activated with the lever at the rear. At first I didn't understand this part here, but it helps to actually activate the function. It runs pretty smoothly on the balls, the rear will spin faster, it's a cool play function. As for the scale, it's definitely not to scale with the poor Supra we got earlier this year. The difference is huge. It's much closer to Dom's Charger, which is good, but in reality either this one should be bigger or this one should be smaller, because there's a good 70 centimeters difference between the real cars, but at least they are close and can be displayed together. Here is the same car in Speed Champion scale, they look nice. So, is it a good Technic set? From a functionality point of view, it definitely is. It has some innovative play features, compact axles with very useful new parts, and finally it is a licensed set that goes beyond the bare minimum in terms of functionality. Of course, it's not perfect. I can't get over the repeated steering misalignment topic in these sets, but most of the complaints will come from the fact that it wants to be a Too Fast Too Furious Nissan Skyline. It has a lot of stickers for the cool stripes, but for some reason no brand stickers were added to the hood or anywhere else, but we have the Toyo tire sticker at the rear, it's inconsistent. Then there's the drivetrain, which is supposed to be all-wheel drive, which is kind of there if we consider this a working link, but in this case I prefer the cool play feature over realism. As for the looks, there was obviously a lot of effort put into the body shaping, but it's still a Technic car that will never be as smooth as the Icon sets, so people will always complain about the shape or the gaps. Honestly, if it was a mock from a well-known custom builder on Rebricable, I'm sure people wouldn't stop praising it. So, is it worth €140 or dollars? It has more parts than the Ferrari F1 car and about 3 times more Technic features, so from this perspective, absolutely. The Ford GT is probably the closest competitor. That one is also an enjoyable build, but I think the extra features here are worth a bit more money because the build is just as fun and interesting. I have to admit that I'm not the biggest fan of LEGO's recent license them all approach to Technic, but if all sets had this attention to detail, I would have a lot less reason to complain. If you like Technic cars, you should definitely check this one out. Please let me know, folks, what you think of the set. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications, as there will be more exciting LEGO videos coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.